Hey gang, Uncle Todd here. I hope you've had a good holidays. We head back into more regular stuff, at least until Valentine's. Tonight, because I had taken a look at Rob Zombie's less than engaging Munsters reboot, I thought I would take a look at a different Munsters reboot. There'd been several, a couple of movies like, the Munsters Christmas and such, and they've all followed the pattern of, the classic Universal Monsters look, but this one, called Mockingbird Lane, does not go that route. Instead, they base their interpretations on the 90s Universal horror flicks. Bram Stoker's Dracula and Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, more specifically. His grandpa looks very much based on Gary Oldman's version of Dracula, as does Herman looks, except for the startup face, very much in the mode of Robert De Niro's monster. Basically a normal man with a lot of scars around his body. And Lily is a little more sexually forward looking. Basically one of the brides of Dracula from the Bram Stoker's Dracula, although it's his daughter. And Eddie's werewolf is more along the lines, well, I wouldn't say like Benicio del Toro's Wolfman, but along those lines. Very much very more wolf looking, with a large snout and a tail, although it's biped. The show starts, well, this was a pilot that did not get picked up. And as it looks like the effects were very expensive, it's not hard to see why they would pass on it, but I think it was a really well done pilot and could have made a good hour-long series. It would not have worked as a half-hour sitcom, but more of a hour-long creepy dramedy. We open up with a scout troop that gets attacked by a very vicious animal. Speaking of wild animals, Frank somehow got himself a pet, a cat. And I'm not sure where he dug the cat up at. He's named him Frank. Why not? And he's been getting along with Sonny. Well, you two have a peaceful standoff going on. So sensitive. Anyway, the next morning, they take stock and see if there are any scouts missing. Yep, Eddie's a werewolf. Oh, my new ring for Christmas. Of course, you remember my Frank ring. And this is my Jason ring. Actually, I got it at the Comic-Con, but I decided to save it as a Christmas thing to myself. And the reason I don't have it on my middle finger is it's a little too big. Anyway, the rest of the Munsters snap in action, and Marilyn finds them a new house in a new town. A nice, creepy old place that the retailer really didn't want to sell to her, but she insisted, and they move in. They don't tell Eddie he's the reason they're moving. They say it was the baby bear that attacked the campsite, and so they didn't want the bear to follow him home. But Eddie knows they're not telling him something, and that's going to cause some friction later on down the line. That night, Grandpa and Lily arrive at the house. The next day, Grandpa's very upset to learn that Eddie's become a vegetarian. Munsters have always eaten meat, and they will always eat meat. And Grandpa is also giving hints that he's going to start drinking again, which can cause problems because he's not talking about alcohol. Eddie kind of blows off Herman because he knows his father's not telling him something important, and he's angry about it. And unfortunately for Herman, his heart starts to come apart. So that evening, Grandpa has to revive him.
We found you in the yard, Kurt.
Hey, that's my last original part. Put it back in. Take this thing out.
Herman's afraid that if he loses too many human parts for mechanical parts, he'll stop being who he is. So Grandpa takes out the mechanical heart and puts the old heart back in, but it's not going to last long. They've got to get a new heart. Grandpa has an idea. Not to anyone's liking, but Grandpa will do what Grandpa's going to do. And he makes some cookies, and he puts a little bit of his blood in the cookies. Neat little thing is the cookies are all D-shaped. Get it? D for Dracula. Clever. Almost subtle. Anyways, he makes one of the neighbors a blood slave and has him do repair work around the house. This kind of ticks off Herman because, you know, they're trying to be low-key incognito, and Grandpa's out here making blood slaves. Then the guy has a heart attack, which Grandpa sees as a blessing. Herman, not so much.
Perfectly good heart. You called an ambulance.
But that's okay, because later, when Eddie's meeting his new scoutmaster, Grandpa makes an interesting discovery.
Did your heart just skip a beat?
So, new plan. They'll kill the scoutmaster, Herman will get a new heart, and of course Grandpa will just have the added benefit of drinking the man's blood. Of course. Herman is not too thrilled with this plan, but unbeknownst to him, Grandpa invites the scoutmaster to dinner. At which point we get some pretty funny, awkward comedy around the dinner table.
Made me feel so at home. I feel like I'm sitting down having dinner with my own family.
Part of you is.
Lily, getting suspicious of this, wants to have a conference with Herman, and they go into the tunnel, or staircase, under the stairs. You know, from the old show.
I was
his heart, and Grandpa wants to drink his blood.
Are either of those things going to happen in the dining room tonight?
I don't know, may not be the answer you're looking for.
Marilyn, knowing what's going on, because she's clever, decides to get the Scoutmaster out of the house, but Grandpa's way ahead of her. Meanwhile, Herman and Lily have agreed Eddie has to know the truth. So, while that was going on, Herman had taken Eddie up to the roof of the house, and he explained all about his lycanthropy. Eddie is furious. How dare they keep this from him? He just wants to be a normal kid, and now he's a werewolf, and he storms off, and Herman, feeling for his son, puts too much strain on his heart, and it just dies completely. No chance of reviving from it. And he falls off the roof. Later, he wakes up back down in the lab, and Grandpa's gone through a change himself.
Et voila. Good as new? I know I am.
Herman's got a new heart. Grandpa has been revitalized by the blood from the unfortunate Scoutmaster. And Herman, with this man's heart now pumping through his body, I don't know if there's an implication he might have some leanings towards how this guy thinks and feels. But, the whole heart skipping a beat thing when he saw Lily and all that. Herman becomes the new Scoutmaster for Eddie's troop. And they find him a new pet that will help keep him from hurting anybody on the nights of the full moon. And thus, the cast is complete with the addition of Spot. I really like this adaptation. It is a good update. And unlike the Rob Zombie one, this one remembers the Munsters was a sitcom. Most of the conflict is interpersonal within the family, mostly between Herman and Grandpa over basic concepts of how to raise your family, how to earn a living. That's what the show worked around, was that conflict between the two of them, and Lily kind of being the mediator between them. And that was not how Rob Zombie viewed it. More's a pity, because I think he could have done a good job if he had grasped the whole sitcom aspect the way this does. And I love the updating. And yeah, in the original show, the Munsters thought they were ordinary people, just like anybody else. They just had the great fortune to be better looking, they thought. Whereas everyone else really looked sadly like Marilyn, and they felt bad about these people not being as good looking, but they were still good people, and they were going to be treated nicely. And here it is more of an aspect that they're just trying to fit in. They know they're weird, they know they're different, they know they're monsters. And all they're really wanting is, in the case of Herman, and they just want to bring up Eddie in as normal a surrounding as possible. And they're butting heads with Grandpa because he wants Eddie to be a monster, like he is. And that is a very relatable concept of that people can relate to, because the back and forth between Herman and Grandpa. anybody can get into that. This is my son. I'm going to raise him the way I think is fit. And the other grandparent is no. I raised Lily. I can raise him, and I know how to raise it. And it works for me. And there's a lot of great humor. Not as many of the sight gags from the old show, but it's the 2000s. And that kind of campy humor really wouldn't play today, I don't think. But I really enjoyed this. And I am sad it did not go on to be a series, because I think it would have been popular and a good series, because there's so many different aspects that they could have gone into throughout the series, with trying to fit in a normal life, but all the creepy stuff going on. And they could have gone more into depth about Marilyn as one, because she seemed rather superfluous, except for a couple of scenes. She really had not much to do. There was a scene where she and Grandpa are taking the cookies around, and they have this interesting conversation where Grandpa talks about her mother, Lily's sister, trying to kill Marilyn when she was a baby. The whole reason she had a daughter was to kill her and drink her blood, and Grandpa saved her, but he really doesn't want her around, and he wishes she would go to college and live at college instead of living with them and commuting. And Marilyn just wants to be part of the family. And I think that could have been expanded on more if the show had continued. But yeah, a lot of fun. The relationship between Lily and Herman is very sweet. They're very loving. Not overly like the Addams Family would be, but very loving. I love Herman's look, where he's got that huge scar around his neck, and his different parts of his arms have scars, and he's got this zippered opening in his chest so that Grandpa can get to the heart that keeps malfunctioning. And he really does look like he's been put together from different parts. And anyone else looking at it would just think he must have had a horrible car accident. Luckily, they didn't hit his face. But it's pretty obvious the head is not original part of that body. And I like Lily was very fun. She had a lot of, there's a scene where she's floating above the bed, again, going back to the Coppola movie of Dracula. And of course, Grandpa, Eddie Izzard, steals the whole pilot with his presentation. And he and Jerry O'Connell play well off each other. But his diatribe about eating meat is like a comedy highlight for the episode. Really funny, really enjoyable. Sad it didn't go on, but if you're only going to want to see one Munsters updating, go with this one. Not Rob Zombie. Sorry, Rob. You really, really missed the mark on that one. Please hit like, share, subscribe, and stay after for my favorite scene.
Pre-cleansed.
Miss, there may be dead homeless people in the walls.
Then they found a home after all.